Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second segment, episode 261 of Sold with Updike. Pugh, I'm Jeff Updike.
I'm Weston Pugh, and today we are going to chat with you a little bit about keeping canine companions safe. And you know why this is so important? Because it is about to be spring, and lots of stuff is about to start happening. Either it's going to start blooming, or you're going to start putting it out on the floor, or you're going to do a massive spring cleaning. Be thoughtful, and here are some quick tips to keep your pets safe.
Number one, avoid toxic foods. There are so many things that I don't think people think about. The number one in my head is chocolate.
I knew that one.
Yeah, so many people do not know that, and they'll feed their dogs just chocolate, and it can kill them.
So we were at dinner with some friends the other night, and we were talking about this, and I asked if anybody had heard about grapes and raisins and garlic and onions. And apparently I am the only bad parent of a four-legged friend because everybody else knew that that was a no-go. And I didn't because I remember seriously at my grandparents' house that lived in a working ranch, and anything that was left over on a plate went into a pail that went out and fed, whether it was the pigs or the dogs. And I don't ever remember my grandmother saying, "Oh, please pull out those garlic and that onion, please. I don't want the dogs to eat it." So different these days.
The other thing that is so highly toxic to dogs is a chemical called xylitol, and xylitol is a sweetener that is used in. It's a non-calorie sweetener that is used in a lot of gum and a lot of candy, and so certainly don't feed them any of the small Trident gum or anything like that because it does have it in it. But even if you're feeding them other sweets, I would look at the ingredients and make sure xylitol is not on there.
The other thing to talk about is medication. And there's a lot of times when people are like, "Oh, you can just give them X, Y, and Z. It's the same thing." That is definitely something that you need to actually visit with a vet. And the biggest thing, even if they can take it, there is a huge difference in the amount that like I weigh versus what a 40 or a 10-pound dog weigh. And the ratios and percentages can get really off, and a dog can go toxic so fast.
Very, very, very quickly. The other thing to keep in mind is just normal household toxins, which is your cleaning products. It's going to be the big one to avoid right now is antifreeze, because we're changing seasons. A lot of people that are kind of the do-it-yourself type people might be changing out the antifreeze in their car. And this is something that looks very attractive to dogs, and it is sweet tasting to dogs, and it can cause serious harm to dogs.
And one of the last things we want to talk about, as we mentioned at the beginning of this, is that we're going to be putting a lot of chemicals probably on the actual yard, whether it's to block out weeds or whether it's to encourage green growth. Some of those things may not be ingested, but will actually burn the paws of the dogs. Couple that with the heating up of the sidewalks. You take your dog on the walk and suddenly your dog is licking their feet all the time, and you've got a chemical burn there. So these are things to think about when you're actually working with your animals and figuring out when they're going to go out, when you're going to put it out, and when you're going to actually turn your sprinklers on to get it soaked up and get it displaced.
And that kind of rolls into what just came up in my head, but it's many people use those hose end sprayers for flea control or for
cutter for
mosquito control. And I have nothing wrong with using those. I'm not saying don't, but don't let your dogs out right away. Give them, give the grass 30 minutes to an hour to absorb all of that chemical before you turn the dogs free, because that, again, you get that chemical burn and they get on walking on the concrete, and it's not good.
And here's a little thing that I noticed. My dog, after we clean, sneezes all the time in the house. And I think that the chemicals that we're cleaning with are just, they're super sensitive to it because they can smell so much stronger than we can. And I'm like, oh, am I like, is this bad?
Riley doesn't like Fabulosa?
It's not. You know what it really is? It's those bleaches that we clean, like the shower, the toilets, all that stuff that go over and over and over again. I think it just, some point she just starts sneezing. I'm like, okay, we probably should open windows and get some of this out.
Well, we hope you found this helpful. If there are any other comments you have, just leave them in the comments below. If there's any topics you'd like for us to discuss, write those down too. We'll make it happen.
And guess what? We are actually pushing our TikTok video, and with the help of dear Zach, our producer, we have actually created some content. Take a look at it. Let us know. And just remember, we want to be realtors for life.
When you're ready to talk real estate, you can reach us online, by phone, or by text at 214-377-2223.
And remember, we want to be realtors for life.